the connection, the people, and being the event executive, then it was very interesting. It was quite intense. I always tell people, like, when it comes to me, it's like, how do you do it? I was like, listen, the truth is, it's not easy. You have difficult clients. You also have to deal with your colleagues. You have to deal with your bosses. And sometimes, they say customers are always right. So you just have to take whatever has been thrown at you. But the truth is, like I said, thick skin. So if you're not really ready to run on low sleep, low battery, and low amount of food, you can't do this.
That's exactly what describes the role of the event manager.
Yes.
Fixing problems.
That's it. You need to fix it. Errors can happen in any time in our lives. We're not made to be perfect. Fantastic. We have time. No, we didn't have time, because in less than 1 hour or 2 hours, I had over 300 people at the hotel reception.
Welcome to Event Bubble. This is the first podcast ever. Event Bubble. I even got this pretty lighting here.
Amazing.
So I was thinking there is no podcast about the events industry yet in Dubai. I mean, I've seen it everywhere in the US, in Russia, somewhere in Europe, and it's going really well. And I thought, why not make it as well in Dubai?
Of course, 100%.
So I really want to talk about how it's like to run events in Dubai / Abu Dhabi. What are the do's and don'ts? I want to spill all the beans, all the secrets in the events industry. So my name is Barbara, you know already, Queenie.
Yes.
So I've been pretty much in the events my entire life. As you know, I've told you already, I grew up in Austria, so I've done a lot of events in Austria, Germany, and in Spain, and now in Dubai since like 3 years.
Amazing.
So for my first guest, my star guest, I decided to invite you, Queenie, because you were also one of the first people that I met when I moved here, and who helped me a lot to learn about the events industry. So let's talk more about you. Okay. Who are you, Queenie? Tell us.
So I'm Queenie. Obviously, I moved here 7 years ago. When I got here at first, I actually came to do a course in hospitality and events. So obviously, I lived in Scotland, London, Nigeria, originally Nigerian. Then I moved here. Since I've been here, I've worked for Dubai Opera. Then when I started doing my dissertation, I decided to take time off and just focus on events. So once that was done, I started, working on different events. I did the Special Olympics World Games. So I was actually in charge of the New Zealand team as the delegation. So we're basically, 3 days in Abu Dhabi, and then we had the remaining days in Dubai, but we're going back and forth, to Abu Dhabi. It was a very interesting, I know, it was very interesting time. It was one of the events that I did, and I loved it. And then obviously I applied to volunteer for the Expo 2020, but then fortunately I had to pull out due to some, personal stuff that was going on at that point. And then I also worked in Cup 28, which was really nice.
I was there too.
Yes, it was an interesting time. It was very hectic, and I did that through THA event. So it was a very interesting time.
I remember it was like for a month, like no sleep, literally from morning till night.
Yep, 100%. Wow. So
it was worth it, right? It was
exactly.
Insane.
The connection, the people, and being the event executive, then it was very interesting. It was quite intense, but then again, it kind of showcases how events have been run, and when it's managed well, everything turns out perfectly. So that was one of the best events. And then obviously I worked for DSA Corporate Services for about 2 years, just before the COVID started. So we did events in Panama, we did events in UAE here, Coca-Cola Arena, Zero Gravity, and a couple of other hotels. And then we also did an event in Maldives, which also I was there in Maldives for about 10 to 11 days. It was quite interesting.
That's gold.
It was gold, but after the first 7 days, I was like, okay, yes, we're done now. We just want to come home.
Did you actually enjoy some time there?
Yeah, we did. But then, Maldives is not a place that you stay for a long time. It's a place that you go for a couple of days, but then we went there to work, because we booked out the whole island. So obviously it was hectic, flying in VIP guests from all over the world, celebrities and stuff. So it was quite intense. intense. But, after repeating the same food, the same thing every day, you're like, okay, you know what? I need to eat some burger. I need to go home. But it was a good time. It was, blood, sweat and tears. But then again, this is what happens in event. It's all about when you're building an event from scratch. So obviously there's tears, there's tantrums, there's sweat and blood. So you need to have a thick skin to work in this industry, because it's either you're having
very thick skin.
100%. So we're running on short time of sleep, so you're literally like sleeping 2-3 hours, and then you're up again and you're running like from pillar to post. So it's really intense, it's really stressful. But at the end of the day, once the event comes to life and you're like, oh my God, we did this. We worked on this project and it became...
That's the most amazing feeling after events. I feel like that's the only thing that keeps me going, like there's so many times at night, when you're doing an event setup and you're like starting to question your career choices, like
100%. I always tell people, like, when it comes to me, it's like, how do you do it? I was like, listen, the truth is, it's not easy. You have difficult clients. You also have to deal with your colleagues. You have to deal with your bosses. And sometimes, they say customers are always right. So you just have to take whatever has been thrown at you. But the truth is, like I said, thick skin. So if you're not really ready to run on low sleep, low battery and low amount of food, you can't do this. It's I mean, we worked on the cricket game together, right? The first event, the World Cup cricket. So you can imagine, and you brought me in as the event coordinator when everything was almost done. So, but still it was like intense.
So many people think like, oh, just because she's a coordinator, he or she, it doesn't mean that there's
no, because sometimes you work with the event obviously from the scratch. You build it from top to bottom, and sometimes as an event manager or event coordinator, you come in when everything is done. But that doesn't mean that because everything is done, it's all easy peasy roses. No, because anything, in between the game, the screen went off. Like we were all like, oh no. But at that point, you can't panic because people are already stressed out. Your bosses are looking at you like, what is happening? The guests are like, we paid for this. What is going on? So there's no time to think about it like, oh my God, what am I going to do? No, there's no time. The only thing and the priority is fix it. We deal with the issue, why it happened with the tech team later. But at that point, fix it.
I think that's exactly what describes the role of the event manager. Fixing problems.
That's it. You need to fix it, because sometimes you don't have time to yell at anyone. You don't have to, because also you need to remember your face is what everyone is seeing. So whatever reaction that you give out at that point, people are looking at you, they're watching you. So whatever the damages are, you don't react. You don't, panic, because the worst thing you could do is to panic in an event. Because once you panic, it shows that you're not good at your job or you don't know what you're doing. So you need to get it together and just fix the situation. And then once the event is done, and just smile. And once the event is done, then we can address, okay, what went wrong? Why did this happen? How did it happen? It shouldn't happen again. We need to figure out ways to avoid such things. And even if it happens, then we need to have a solution. We need to have a backup, because we can't have that, constantly. So event is, it's a beautiful place, but like I said, you need to get it together. You have to get it together.
And it's so crazy that every event is different, so it's almost impossible to plan ahead for everything, but you just have to have this like mental strength to be prepared for anything.
100%. You cannot anticipate that what went wrong in one event, because okay, for us, for example, we've worked in corporate events, we've worked in sports events, we've worked in expos, we've worked for mega projects and mega, so you can't anticipate anything that is going to go wrong. You don't know. You can only anticipate that something would go wrong because it's an event. Anything can go wrong. Someone, the service provider, for example, the waiters or the hostesses or something, they can magically spill a drink on someone. It's not because it's not because it's they planned it. It's just hazards happen. But because it happened doesn't mean you have to be disruptive or murder them or scream at them. No, you just have to think about it like it is an event after all. Yeah. And we're all humans. We're bound to make mistakes. But the thing is, sometimes an event, people are like, oh, there's no room for mistakes. There's no room for error. But we're still humans.
Yeah.
Error is something that we cannot, it's impossible not to have an error. Even like there's no, even the genius in the world, at some point you would make a mistake.
That's true.
Because you made a mistake doesn't show incompetency. It doesn't mean you're incompetent in your job. It's just that it is bound to happen. But then sometimes, most events, they're like, no, error cannot be happen. This cannot happen.
It's impossible.
Yeah. And then after the event, it's either the event manager or the director or the service provider is not used anymore. But it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Because an error happened doesn't mean we discard people. You train them, you talk about it, and you fix the situation while it happened. And then after the event, we have a meeting, we address the situation, and then we move forward. This is the best way. But we can't keep changing.
It's like a learning
curve.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't keep changing people because there's an error or because, this person didn't show up. So for this, I'm not going to use this agency anymore. It doesn't, it's not, errors can happen in any time in our lives. We're not made to be perfect. If we were perfect, then there would not be any need for anyone to come to me or to come to you.
Exactly. Then no one needs to
because anymore. They would do it themselves. But then at the end of the day, we would know that it's an event. Errors will happen. We can anticipate where the errors come. The anticipation could be, okay, let's have a backup for the tech. Maybe there might be an AV problem. Let's have a backup for seating. Maybe there's it's going to be overspill, so we need to have a backup for this. Maybe there's going to be shortage of food. We need to, plan. So the little things that we can anticipate.
Have a plan B, plan C, for every little element.
That is 100%. So we can anticipate certain things that we would assume there will be a bit of an issue in, but that does not mean it could happen. It could happen.
Exactly.
Or it could not happen. But you just prepare yourself. That's it.
Talking about errors.
Yes.
What do you think, on top of your head, was the most disastrous event that you can remember in Dubai?
Oh my God. I think the biggest error, I would say, was when I was in charge. So basically, I was the event coordinator in one of the big projects that we had. So this project was obviously, it was a 15,000 people event at Coca-Cola Arena. And we had about 1,500 guests between 3 hotels, which is the V Hotel, Haptul City and Haptul Palace. We booked out. And then the VVIPs we had in the Adra Sky View and the Armani Hotel. So I was in charge of the 3 hotels, which was the Hilton, that is all close to each other. So obviously I was also in charge of the database that we created, itinerary for the VIP guests. Oh. So basically I'm doing an itinerary database for VIP guests of 1,500. So rooms are allocated. So basically I'm in contact with the hotel.
Yeah.
So I'm in contact with the client. So I'm getting information with the team, okay, when is your flight schedule? When is your arrival time? When is your departure time? Who are you coming with?
So many people.
It is a lot of people. Trust me, it was a lot of people. So I need to put all this, data together, me and the team. So the problem was not that the data had issue. The problem is that when they arrived, most of them arrived with more than one person, and it was supposed to be 2 people per room. So when they came, they literally decided to switch themselves. So I was at the hotel because I had to stay at the hotel for the 3 days. It was a global event. So they came from all over the world and half of them were all Spanish speakers. So it was amazing,
Spanish, not all of them speak such good English.
No, so communication was already a big barrier for us and the hotel people.
And you couldn't learn Spanish.
Exactly. And my Spanish is just a bit, I mean, I did Spanish back in school when I was in London, but it was like a bit. So, yes. So, I'm like, oh, great. I just have a hotel full of Spanish people and I only had one Spanish person in our team that understood Spanish. Like, this is going to be a fun day. So I'm getting calls from the airport and, you know, the guys at the airport, the transportation and logistics guys are like, oh, Queenie, you know, we've got a bus of 100 people approaching the hotel. I was like, okay, great. Team, let's get ready. Everyone's got their iPad. I've got my iPad. Okay, we've got the list. Hotel is like Queenie, but we don't have everyone blocked in the rooms. I was like, listen, we booked out half of all the hotels and the whole of one hotel. I think we'll be fine. Let's forget. But the problem was when they arrived. So they're telling me we have 100 people approaching. I was like, just left the airport. I was like, oh, fantastic. We have time. No, we didn't have time because in less than 1 hour or 2 hours, I had over 300 people at the hotel reception. So you can imagine the disaster that was happening.
I would be freaking
Oh,
out.
no. At that time, there was no room for error. There was no room for freaking out. We just need to solve the situation because the plan was, you know, send us your itinerary. So at least we know and we schedule all the time. It's no, it didn't happen. So when we're doing the list, they're giving names on the passport is different from names we had on the data. So now we need to.
I love it when they don't even match, when the names don't even match.
Oh my God! So the hotel is like, yeah, but we don't have this name. But Queenie, because I had to send all the lists to the hotel, so they allocate the rooms. So people are giving me their details. We can't find them on the system, and I'm like, but this, and then they're like, oh no, this isn't. I was like, yeah, but your name should be the same name on your passport. Like, you know, it's a hotel check-in. They need your passport. This name does not go.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It was.
This would be one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I'm done. Bye.
And then we have people yelling at my other team because I was in charge, right? So they're yelling at the girls. And then the girls are like calling me from imagine they're at the V Hotel. I'm in Hilton, fixing Hartwell City. Someone is calling me in V Hotel. Queenie, we have a problem here. This client is not on the list. You're making a drama. Da, 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 da. So I'm like, honey, can you handle it? And they're like, no, we can't because they're yelling at us. We don't know what to do. And they were all like younger, you know? So I'm like, okay, let me fix this. And then I'm running to fix, to fix that problem. And then someone is calling me from Palace. There's another problem. I was like, can you handle it? No, we cannot. So it was a fun night. At some point,
did you check your steps on that day on your phone?
Oh, dear God. I think I lost so much weight within that 3 days that I can't even. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I didn't sleep for the first 48 hours. I didn't sleep. Literally on the group, I remember the hotel is like, this woman hasn't slept for 48 hours, almost going to 72 hours. She's on do not disturb. Like no one. Literally, I even got sick at the process. So they were, you know, I'm like a glass of ginger tea, honey, lemon, my iPad, my laptop, and I'm, you know, running from. At some point, I was the only one in the hotel because everybody else has other things to do. So I had to manage all this myself and then fell sick. A few minutes after they just posted on the group, this woman hasn't slept for 48 hours. No one should disturb her. If you cannot fix it, just do whatever, but you do not. It was not even up to 3 minutes. Miss Queenie, we have a problem. Oh my God. I was like, yeah, great. I'm coming. So literally I had 4 nights in the hotel. I only slept on the last day in bed because I was standing on my feet. Yeah. I don't know how I did it. But
sometimes I don't know. What keeps us going still, like it's like
honestly
safe mode on.
I swear to God, I think after that event I probably would have just given up. I'm like, okay, I'm done with events. I'm done with handling VIP guest lists. I'm done with this. But you know what? No.
But you managed.
I did it. Wow. Everything was solved. We had a lot of disaster, but everything was solved. And, you know, it was really nice because most of the guests was telling my bosses, oh my God, she's such an amazing person. And the funny thing is that she just kept smiling. Like whatever, she was just smiling. Like you would never see her yelling or getting angry at anyone. And my boss, I get to the event, my boss is calling. He's like, I don't want to see you in the van. Like you do not come to the event. I heard you've not slept for 48 hours. You need to can you sleep? I was like, no, I'm fine. It's like, no, Queenie, you're not coming to the event. I was like, why? I don't want to be in the event too. I don't
the best part of it.
But the best part of it is the operational part. I don't want to do the back office and not do anything. I also want to be there. So
I don't care how old.
I swear, I literally like got ready and then I showed up and my boss came out. He was like the 3 of them, they were looking at me, and then one of them, you know, he hugs me. He's like, well done, well done. I heard everything that happened, like literally well done. And I'm just like, that feels good. That was great. And then my team, everyone, like you can see the joy in everyone's face and the guests. But it was a beautiful event.
Yeah,
it just took a lot.
That's why we do events.
Yes,
because it's also nice at the end.
It is. It took a lot out of us. 3 months of planning, and then all this disaster. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when you see the smile on the faces of the guests and the clients, and it just reminds you why you do this again. Exactly. It's like, this is why I do this
these are the moments.
That's it. They were leaving, they were hugging me, and most of them were like, oh, let's add you on Instagram. I was like, okay, yeah, no, but thank you. It's like,
at this point you should already be famous on Instagram.
I swear to God, like they were all coming like, let's take a picture. I was like, no, but thank you so much. Have a safe trip back to wherever you're coming from till we meet again. Adios, guys. But trust me, all these little things, when it happens, you kind of course you're human. At some point you would lose your, self, but you need to get it together.
Yeah.
Because if I couldn't get it together, my team that I was also in charge of would not be able to get it together. And then everyone is going to be falling apart, because at that point, you're going to be like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? The names are not matching. This is not, it'll be a disaster. And the hotel is already overwhelmed. Yeah. There's 1,500 people all arriving in the space of 3 to 4 hours. It was chaotic.
Yeah.
But
you gotta keep it together, and it's also true that not everyone has it in themselves. I actually had a friend of mine. I think it was in my 20s. I just started my career in events, and I remember we were at uni, and a friend of mine was asking, "Hey, I need some side job. Like, is it okay if I join and one of your events?" I'm like, okay, sure. I talked to my boss. It's fine. And I just remember it was one of those events, where you run around, you don't know where beginning and the end is. And I just remember her carrying this tray of I don't even remember what it was, red wine or some juice.
Oh, no.
And she spilled it on the guests.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in that moment, you usually have to react. You have to do something. She literally just started crying and she ran away, and I felt so bad for her,
because when mistakes like this happen, especially sometimes if it happens, some guests are really calm and they're really sweet about it, even though
if
it's
in the first moment it might be like, oh my god,
but some guests will be like, they'll try to calm you down and stuff, but some guests, they're not that easily understanding. Yeah. Some of them might really throw a fuss, and but it's okay. Everyone reacts differently, and you're dressed up, you're in an event, and someone mistakenly, accident happens and spills on you. Of course, some people would lose their mind, and some people would be like, "It's okay, don't worry about it." So it all depends on who the accident occurred with and how the
if you're
reaction.
Lucky or not.
If you're exactly, that's the word. If you're lucky or not. If you're lucky and it's a good guess, then of course it's still an accident. They would not be obviously happy about it, but they will also not make too much of a fuss. But then some people, everyone's reaction to things are very different. So
Oh my God, I will never forget this moment.
I could imagine.
But let's go more into more positive things, because
I know. But disaster is fun. This is what makes the event fun, because without a disaster, there's no fun at the end. So we talk about the disaster as well, but still, it's just to make people understand that even though it's a disaster, it always turns out perfect.
There's always a solution.
There's a solution, and it always ends with positive.
As long as you have an event manager on board.
That's it. Exactly. That's all you need.